Good. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had nieces and nephews and stuff over the last couple days.
So that was what made the Sunday busy.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah. It was. So I'm curious. Pro or cons to daylight savings time spring forward edition?
I don't like either of them.
Well, then which one do you want? Do you want the more sun in the evening or in the daytime or in the morning?
I want more sun in the evening.
In the evening. So you're pro
Yeah.
spring forward, but just don't move it back.
I don't like. I don't like it all.
Like, stop moving it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm on board with that one. Because even right now, like unless I'm getting like driving to work in the 6 a.m. time range, I don't really notice it. But right now, like the lighting in here is tremendous. Like, look at this. I have lights on in the background like normal, but like almost, I mean, it's still nice, but like, it's amazing. The windows over here, it's been nice.
I'm telling. Yeah, I don't like either of them.
Yeah. So I feel you. Well, so I think, as we texted you earlier, I have my notes up here. There's so much NFL stuff. That's why I was thinking it might be a good idea if we did a separate thing.
Yeah.
Because, man. And then we'll even probably have some more free agency stuff. So, like, it'll be a full thing. If you're cool with baseball today.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Dude, I love it. Okay, let me pull up this real quick.
Yeah, the football stuff, it got wild.
Dude, I was surprised.
And we're still waiting for the biggest domino of them all to drop.
Lamar?
No, Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's a good chance I think that it might in that first couple of days, maybe the first week. But
I say tomorrow.
You think it's tomorrow?
Pat McAfee show. He's going to announce it.
Wow. Like Aaron Rodgers or Pat McAfee?
Aaron Rodgers. Because he's on every Tuesday.
Wow. Could you imagine? Jeez.
I mean, he says it's going to happen soon. So how long is soon? Hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah.
And because all the players for the Jets, they are convinced they have him.
Oh, man. I wonder
how they announce it.
Yeah, I wonder how Zach Wilson feels.
I think it honestly could be a good thing for Zach Wilson.
Yeah?
Just based off the fact that him and Rodgers do have a really good relationship outside of football.
Yeah.
And it gives him someone to learn behind for another year or two.
So you don't think he's done? You don't think that Zach Wilson's time is done?
I mean, it might be, but if they were smart, they would let him see what he could do behind Aaron Rodgers and see how well he can develop.
Yeah. I don't know. I worry that he's never going to be able to live up to it in New York now. I mean, it's just insane. I mean, to think some people were saying like, well, what if they traded a 5th round pick for the guy? Would you take it if you're the Jets? And I'm like, a 5th? I cannot imagine. Like, this is worse than Josh Rosen's pick.
Yeah.
At this, I mean, it's so much worse. And Rosen played less, in my opinion. I think he played less.
Oh yeah, Rosen only played part of one season.
Yeah, and this is way worse.
Yeah, they kind of threw him under the bus last year.
Yeah. So we just get. I mean, poor kid. I mean, BYU guy. I don't know that if he was ready for New York Jets like that. Media is just different.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. But so, how much of the World Baseball Classic have you watched?
I watched a couple games.
Yeah, what are you feeling?
I hate the fact that every USA game's on at either 9 or 10 o'clock at night.
It's so weird.
Yeah, I don't like it.
The timings of the games are weird. I thought they were all played like similar ballpark area, like geographic region. But like Japan's got home games, we got home game. Like, is it just home sites?
It's just different sites throughout. So the first round, I know at least for the American pool, is in Arizona.
Okay.
Then I think it moves. I want to say all of it moves to Florida afterwards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, it's been tough to watch so far. I did not know this. So Korea played China today. Did you see the score?
No.
22-2. So also they played 5 innings. So I didn't realize that there was a run limit, a mercy. Thank goodness, a mercy rule. It was 2-2 after the first inning. Then Korea went on and scored 2, 8, 6, 4.
Ooh,
Insane.
that's rough.
Yeah. So how bad? Worst uniforms. Have you seen the articles on worst uniforms for the World Baseball Classic?
The Great Britain ones are terrible.
They're so bad. They are so bad. They're not even. They're just. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's basically a gray jersey with the smallest like font that they're like, all right, that looks big enough people can read, but small enough where you may have to squint to look at it. And it just says Great Britain. And there's like no other like logos, no other like really decals or anything on it. And you're like, okay, what are we doing?
Honestly, overall as a whole, I'd love to know anybody listen to the pod. What did you think of the logos? I mean, not the logos, just the uniforms overall. I think they're not very good. I think it's super weak. I don't even like America's, USA's, the logo they have on the hat. Snooze.
It's so they don't change the logos at all. It's been the same basic, or like the uniforms. It's been the same for pretty much all of at least since the 2000s. Not just the World Baseball Classic, but a lot of like the U.S. like Olympic uniforms, the Venezuelan, all of them have really been the same. They just didn't really update them. I mean, I kind of like the USA logo, like the one that's on the jersey.
It's not on the hat.
Yeah, well, the one on the hat's a little different. I like the one that's on the jersey because it kind of, I guess nowadays it looks like an old school like 90s kind of logo where it's got the U and then it's got like the S is kind of like a flag type thing and it's just like lines. I think that one's kind of I like that logo more than the hat logo.
The hat one, I just doesn't make me want to buy a hat, and I have seen so many good baseball hats out lately. I don't even understand like why in the world like they didn't do more with it. I guess you said like Venezuela, just the V. I've seen that one before. Dominican Republic looks the same as before, so not that those are bad. It was just the Great Britain one is so bad. Historically bad.
Yeah, terrible. I mean, the U.S. This is something I think we said before it all started. We're like, okay, the lineup is probably one of the greatest lineups ever, top to bottom. And then the pitching staff is just absolutely horrible. For what the U.S. can produce.
What are you talking about? Adam Wainwright, man.
Okay, so you got Wainwright. And then who are the other starters?
I don't even remember now.
Nick Martinez.
Yeah, it's not very good.
Brady Singer, who has upside but got rocked last night.
Okay.
Kyle Freeland, who had a 6 ERA last year in the major leagues. And then I feel like I'm missing another one somewhere, but yeah, the starting pitching rotation is not great.
Yeah. And
then the bullpen is solid. It's not horrible, but that rotation is just bad. And it showed last night.
Well, yeah, it did. And I think that's the thing is you're going to see that pitching is what's going to win. I mean, any of our pitchers that come up against the, Shohei Ohtani, because Japan looks like, they look really good right now, which has been nice because Cardinals got some representation there. I'm loving it.
Right?
Highlights getting some good playing time, which is really throwing. We'll get to this more in the spring training thing, but it's throwing so many random players out there that I'm like, I don't even know who this is, and I pay a lot of attention to the Cardinals system a lot. And even some of these other minor league teams. I think you probably pay more attention across the board than I do, but still, I'm like, some of these guys, who is this?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's good to see guys like, Newt Barr. He's having a great, WBC.
I know.
Edmonds is having a pretty solid WBC.
I know, dude. I love it. Yeah. How do you feel being on a 15-inch flat screen? Did you see that comment by Matthew?
I did.
Come on, man.
I guess we're famous now.
I think it's mostly
TVs now. I don't know about that.
Oh, double screencast. He's like, I'm gonna move Jimothy over. It makes you tubby right there. There you go.
No, I doubt that. I mean, so this is something I thought about. When I feel like our podcast, it brings like we balance each other so well.
Okay.
Like I'm like more into like the college football, like the recruiting. I know like a lot of like just kind of like random players and like that side of it. and you have a great college football mind also. But I think I have a little bit,
Yeah.
more on the college football side. And then NFL, I think we're pretty much even when it comes to NFL. We have the same knowledge and stuff. Then baseball, your knowledge for baseball is more than mine. And
I believe that. I don't know how
I,
how's that.
you bring up like all these like metrics, like the analytics part, like the on base plus slugging percentage, the fielding percentage and stuff like that I don't really look at a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a good baseball, knowledge, but I think yours is better. So I feel like it's just like the perfect like cohesion of what we talk about mainly, where it just kind of all meshes perfectly with each other. Like where I'm lacking in baseball, you pick it up. Where you're lacking in college football, I can pick it up. And then football, we're just, it's about even across the board.
Which is why we were 9-3 in the playoffs. I'm just saying, both of it. I
Exactly.
mean, that's why they got to listen. That's why they are listening. It's clearly, and we're going to talk more about that. So first off, we already skipped to this. We're like 11 minutes into this conversation, but everyone already joined the chat. Thank you guys so much for already being a part of the podcast today. This is the bonus content section. This is not going to be in the podcast when we hit record here in just a little bit, but surprise, surprise, we have a bonus episode coming out later this upcoming weekend. So, because there's so much information, just like Tubby said, that if you didn't already know, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you want to know when we go live so you can jump in, and it's going to be at a different time this upcoming week. You want to be there. I'm just telling you. So, and that's probably, we're going to spend quite a bit of time on the NFL. We're going to push it all in today, but you know what? Why not? If we have the margin, let's do it. And we do have the margin, both in time and in record time, which is going to be nice because it's a quick month in March. So it's weird.
And I mean, this week could be pretty jam-packed full of content.
Dude, I know. And I was thinking about this. I mean, I don't know. We'll have to set you up somehow where you can like stream the game. Like maybe you'll have to open a door or something. So that way, like, we're like, man, the game. Oh, shoot. Because I mean, if you're missing out on like a Florida Gulf Coast situation, you're just going to want to know,
Yeah. And then like, I figured this week of any week, probably the best to at least release the first draft position ranking for the draft. So, I mean,
because you're also going to see with more free agencies and stuff like that, you're going to see more and more teams where like your rankings are going to make a big difference, because roles are going to be filled essentially for some teams where needs are going to be, nope, that's known. They didn't go out and get a tackle. So this tackles should be higher up on the draft boards for some of these teams. So I think that's a good timing. I think it's good.
Yeah. I mean, look, right now it's just going to be mainly position rankings, top 5 players in position. Because like you said, there's a lot of free agency stuff, and I don't want to have to write this out like 15 million times because, this happened, this trade happened, or this guy got signed, this guy got cut. That probably couldn't wait until closer to the draft, but figured why not drop some position rankings this, at least one group this week, and next week, and then from here on, it'll probably be closer to 2 each week. The position rankings going forward.
So if people aren't already following you, Twitter and Instagram, right?
Yep.
People should be doing it. People should definitely do that, which you can find those Instagram. It'll be in the description of the show, wherever you download the podcast. Also the same thing with the Twitter, but both of them are the W Sports Podcast. One has dots between each one. One has underscores because Twitter doesn't allow dots. So there you go. Keep it simple. The W Podcast. Just search it. You'll find it. If you find our website, you'll find the links as well.
Yeah. And then on top of that, I don't know if you noticed that we're 20 away from 100 on
Dude,
YouTube.
I know. I was gonna, absolutely. I'm glad you saw that.
And then we hit the 100 mark on Instagram a couple days ago.
Oh, did we really?
We did.
You guys are the best. You all are seriously the best. We appreciate you guys so much. Just because you know what, you're adding to the conversation. I mean, Colin earlier put in the chat, he's like off topic. It was hockey, which is great too because hockey's still fun. And he said, cool moment watching a hockey game in Canada. The anthem singer's mic stopped working, so all the fans in Toronto just started singing the whole anthem, the American national anthem, which is cool because you'd expect it maybe for Canada to be in Toronto, but hey, here we go.
Yeah,
wouldn't have known that otherwise. Same thing when DeMar Hamlin that happened. Remember, they broke the news in the chat because we weren't watching the game because we were running a little bit long on the podcast. So seriously, you guys make this place just the best place to have sports talk. Just saying.
Jose, what's up, buddy?
Welcome all to the show. It's Big Juice. Big Juice. What a nickname. I hope that's a nickname.
Yeah. Big Juice. I was like, I figured it was one of the card guys, but I wasn't 100% sure. But There we go. Big juice.
Welcome to the show, Jose, man. We're grateful for you guys. So today we're going to be talking some more baseball, but stay tuned. Like I said, we will mention it here once we hit record, just about the date this weekend. We'll know for sure, and we'll make sure that it's on our social and on the YouTube page. So as long as you follow those, you'll be up to date. And hey, if you turn that little alert thing on YouTube, you'll be able to know, hey, I get the emails too, because I'm obviously subbed to our channel. Because what if I'm not here one week? I don't want to forget. You know, Tubby's doing a solo show or with a guest. I still don't want to miss it if I'm on the road. So I'm still subbed just in case. Now I will say I'm not eligible for the contest.
No, I mean, that's the same way here. I am subbed to it.
Just
I
in
will
case.
not. Yeah, I will not be entering the contest, just so you know. But yeah, but we'll still run it at 100, even though 2 of us can't win.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you're subbed to the channel. Today, again, we're going to wrap up our predictions, breakdowns, more breakdown than predictions of the NL Central, that's my division, and the NL West. And that's Tubby's division. So you know you're going to get the best information possible for that. And then if you came here for hopefully some basketball news, we will talk about that just a little bit here in a second once we hit go. And then obviously all that football knowledge, guys. There's so much football stuff happening in the football world. You got to stick around. So later this week, you'll get more of that stuff. But you feeling good?
I'm feeling good.
Feeling good to start?
Yep, let's go.
All right. We got 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome back to the W Podcast listeners. Those tuning in on YouTube live right now as we're going, thank you so much for joining the chat. And those who are down on the podcast, we appreciate you guys just as much. You guys are great. We are on our journey to get to 100 subscribers on our YouTube channel so we can have a giveaway. So if you didn't know, sub us on YouTube. It's the W Sports Podcast. Pretty easy to find. It's in the description of the show. But once we get there, we're going to have a great giveaway for a signed NFL jersey. You don't want to miss that opportunity for something free and something super cool, courtesy of our co-host of the year, Tubby. Welcome to the show.
What's up? Dude. Man, I've been waiting for this day. We finally get to talk about our 2 teams.
I know. So we had to make the guess. So if we're breaking down our divisions, do we start with the Central and I go first, or do you get to go first? Do we start with the West?
We'll let you go first.
But I feel like your division's more fun to break down.
That's true. That's why we should wait until the end.
Okay. All right, fine. We'll just do that. Let's save the best for last. So, yes, you heard it right. We're going to start with the NL Central with 2 teams that are probably absolutely terrible. We're going to compete for the worst records this year. But, hey, one of them has an all-time all-star with Joey Votto, but we'll get to that here in a minute. And maybe his last year. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I also want to get into some possible bust candidates just because I pulled up this article today. It had me questioning some ideas about the season. So you feel good if I jump on that first, and then we'll do some more of that. And hey, if you also we've already got like 15 plus minutes of bonus content over on YouTube. You should definitely check it out, like I already mentioned. But don't worry, we are going to be talking about the NFL, free agency, the new destinations for quarterbacks. Listen, they've already landed where they're going. The news ain't going anywhere. We're going to be there and talk about it and just give you guys all the updated information as it comes later this weekend. So even more free agency news things will happen for the new players, new spots, new homes. And we'll break it down together, and that'll be this upcoming weekend. So make sure you're subbed so you can not miss that bonus episode. All right, I feel like that was a lot of words.
Yeah, exactly what James said.
My wife's over there in the corner, and she saw me when I said that was a lot of words. She goes, "Oh yeah." All right. So, anyways, jumping into some baseball content, they had the bust hitters predictions in 2022. Can you name 2 of the candidates that you'd put on there? And there's 8 or 9.
8.
And I'll say we predicted one of these and we were wrong last year.
Oh yeah. So I feel like one's has to be O'Neal Cruz, right?
He was not, because he wasn't projected to have enough at bats, I think. So I could have.
Really?
And these are all hitters. These are busting hitters.
Trying to think in that. Is it? Are you talking about the 2? Is it like going to be someone, players on either of these divisions that we're talking about today?
No, these are cross baseball.
Cross baseball.
Yes.
Man, that's tough. Let's see. I could see Eloy Jimenez being one.
best running back. He was not. So I'm going to give you a hint real
Luis?
quick. Okay, so one of them is considered the best hitter in baseball.
Aaron
Best
Judge?
best player.
But best player?
Yeah.
Otani?
Well,
I mean,
geez, man, come on.
Otani's the best player in baseball.
We both agree, but at the time last year, it was Mike Trout.
Oh, okay.
This is last year's predictions, and I'm going to give you the results.
Last year's. I thought you were talking about this year's.
That's my bad. I didn't set up the question very well. So yeah, we got a couple of judges or guesses here with Aaron Judge. That was one of them that you also mentioned. Not quite on this list. So this was under Zips. So that projection system. So Mike Trout was the number one projected to bust. He was hurt a little bit last year, so you could say maybe. But even with that award, massive season that he had overall. Yeah. Yelich was one of them, and yes, I would say he was a bust. The other one that actually looks like a bust was Will Myers. Whoever thought he was going to be a breakout last year is just insane. Frank Schwindel was the other accurate one, which I was surprised by. I was surprised he didn't have a good year. But some of the other the one that we both predicted last year was Austin Riley. We were wrong.
Yep, definitely wrong there. Yeah, the fact that someone thought that Trout was going to slump last year, even with the injuries and the amount of games he played, if he would have played the same amount of games Aaron Judge did last year, we would have been having a conversation of who's going to possibly break the record first.
Yeah.
At the rate that Trout was hitting last year, home run wise, he was right on pace with Aaron Judge all season. But the injuries just pretty much killed a good part of his season.
Yeah. I think that's going to be, the statement for him this year is how healthy can he be, because he's obviously been so good this year. But I bring this up because the number one player that is projected at the biggest chance to bust this year, who do you think it is?
Aaron Judge?
He was argued that, his would probably be the biggest drop-off, but it wouldn't be a bust.
When we're talking about, are we just talking like pure bust for the season, not like home runs or hitting?
Yeah, this is just they're not going to live up to what they did last year. So think Salvador Perez a couple years ago, 48.
Yeah. Okay.
The next year,
see, I was hung up on when you said hitters, I was thinking, home runs basically, and that's why I was like, well, Judge is obviously he's not going to hit 62.
Yeah.
See, this year, I think there's a good chance that we could see. I don't know who they're going to put number one. These are guys I would think that there's a good chance. I think O'Neal Cruz is a guy that we I don't know if he will get there.
We're going to get into that.
And then Kyle Schwarber, I don't know if he gets to the mark that he does, even with the shift changes and stuff like that. Okay. 46 was a lot of home runs.
Yeah.
Rhys Hoskins.
Wow, we just don't know which Rhys Hoskins we're getting. We got a Juan Soto in the chat. Man, Jose, I appreciate that. That is great. We love that answer. We also got Manny Machado from Eric. Said that in the chat too. We could say, Manny Machado's been solid the last couple of years. Maybe this is that drop-off year, though. Maybe this is that first one. Yeah, see, I didn't put Soto up there because Soto had an absolutely awful year last year up to his standards, and I expect it to be somewhat close to the same again this year. I feel like that we saw an early on Soto, and everyone was excited about it. And he could go through that kind of stretch that Bryce Harper had, where he had that the first few years where he had crazy numbers, and then he kind of hit a wall there for a little bit, where he was a good player, but he wasn't up to the standards I think everyone was expecting. And I think that's what we're seeing with Soto right now, where he's kind of still grown into his body, his, the way he's power is starting to come in and the contact different. We'll know he get on base because the guy takes walks because he's got a great, eye for the ball. But I feel like the power numbers are still kind of waning and the average isn't going to quite be there. So that's one reason why I wasn't quite sure. We wouldn't have said so because I still don't think he's going to have a great year this year. I think we see a lot of like what we did last year, around the 240, 20 home runs. He'll get on base a lot, 70, 80 RBIs maybe, but not like a crazy number where you could see, 30 some home runs and stuff like that. Yeah. Well, I think most people expect, like you said, the 240. I think they're expecting 290, and close to a 440, like on base percentage or something crazy like that. And then, 40 home runs. I just don't know if he happens, but Eric in the chat certainly does think so. So we'll see. I mean, this is the prime year for them to jump out, but the number one projected person they're saying is, I'm upset about this, it's Paul Goldschmidt. And I think a lot of it is just last year's September, October.
Yeah.
It was not very good. But it's not any, I mean, most of the times in previous years, Paul Goldschmidt was super cold to start the year and then scorching hot in the second half. He was scorching hot
Mm-hmm.
for the most part almost all year long, except the last unfortunate 6 weeks, which just really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you wanted to be the best. The other one was Joey Gallo. And I thought you can't be a bust if you've been terrible, but they're thinking, no more shift. This guy's going to be great. I don't necessarily agree with that. But in reading why they said it, it was like they don't really feel like the shift banning is going to help him that much. It'll help a guy like Corey Seager, who went 8 for 111 against the shift, the hard shift last year, which isn't like balls in play. That's insane.
Yeah. See, I don't know how you can say Gallo's going to be a bust when he hasn't played good the last 4 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know how I don't care about it. You go, oh, well, the shift, his number is going to go up. I still expect him. Maybe he may hit 200, 215 this year, may go up, 10, 15 points, his batting average. He's still probably going to hit a decent amount of home runs because that's all he can do is hit some home runs. But I wasn't expecting him to have a breakout year because of the ban on the shift.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. We know who he is at this point. What are you going to do? His poor man's, what's his face? Former Dodger, now a Cub.
Cody Bellinger.
There you go. Thank you.
See, Bellinger is a guy I think we could possibly see, not really break out, but have, maybe in between the MVP season and the last couple of seasons that we've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I agree, Eric. You also just put Paul Goldschmidt is one of the most consistent players in baseball. He has been on a full 600 at-bat season. I would say that he has those ups and downs, but absolutely, you can pencil him in for 30 home runs and 95 RBIs and, a solid batting average. It's just, can he put it all together at the right time of the year? But so far, he's looked pretty good. Arenado's looked pretty good. You mentioned it before you even hit record on the podcast that you got guys like Newt Bar, who has looked just absolute monstrous out of the gate. That would be a fun one. Like, what kind of odds would you get? Who's going to have a better year, him or Soto? Who would you count on? Because I think that you could get really good odds if that was a thing out there. And I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that Newt is better than Juan, but would I be upset if he was? Absolutely not.
I mean, if I'm a betting man, I'll take those odds just because you never know. Because I would imagine the odds are going to be very well in your favor.
Yeah.
But I would take those odds any day. And like I said, I'm not saying he's on the level that Soto can be on, but it could be an interesting thing to see.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that could be a prediction episode. Let's see. We could have hot take episode where we do the predictions and who's going to be MVP, all that kind of stuff. That could be one that we write some of those hot takes down and say, like, and then we'll save them because we like to keep our receipts and then look back on the year and see, like, wow, I was dumb. Like, for example, Austin Riley. We were wrong about that one last year. We were wrong about the Braves, for the record. I think they ended up 101 games, and we, especially a month in, we were already like, hey, man, I'm going to get this lotto ticket. Go ahead and cash it out. I feel pretty good. And then they just got on fire. So,
definitely. I mean, a few times. I mean, one of us guessed the Red Sox in the World Series last year.
I had the Cardinals. At least they won 90-plus games.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to go ahead and jump in on the NL Central first, and we're going to start with everybody's favorite team, great, beautiful baseball ballpark, one of the top, I would say maybe top 5. It's borderline, top 5 stadiums, places to watch a baseball game. Unfortunately, the product is absolutely atrocious, has been for most of my life, the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right, so last year, they obviously leaned into even more of a rebuild, but they did bring up some of the young guys. You mentioned some of them already. When it comes to obviously O'Neal Cruz, and a lot of people are projecting he's going to have a good year, but he's not even the only one. So overall for this team, how are you feeling?
Yeah, you got a lot of work. And the thing with O'Neal Cruz is I think that he could be a really good ball player. You look at him, the way he runs, the way he throws, the power and everything. It's something I've said before. He reminds me of that guy that we all created on MLB The Show, who was like 6'8".
Yeah.
Could throw, hit home runs, whatever. It's fastest guy in baseball. But there's also this factor that there's two guys, and they're both in the same division. They both play a lot like each other, almost a lot of the same size and skill, and it's O'Neal Cruz and Elly De La Cruz. They're two of the most bust or hit guys I've seen in recent years. That
Yeah.
if they hit and they hit, then they're going to be a really, really good MLB player. They bust, it's going to be guys that we're looking at going, they're trying to find an invite to spring from a different team every single year. And that team's hoping that they can maybe muster up some of that
We'll be the
potential that
ones.
he had. Yeah, maybe we can get some, of that potential that he had and turn him into, solid utility player or something. And I think that's one thing about O'Neal Cruz that concerns me the most. I mean, the strikeout numbers, the average last year was not great, but it was a rookie year, so I think that's something you expect. Brian Hayes is another young guy there that you look at and you go, man, I wish you could stay on the field because one, he's one of the best gloves in baseball
Oh yeah.
at third base. If he can stay on the field and up the power numbers, closer to the 20 mark, we can see a really good young ball player. And I saw Solzy posted in the Roansy Contreras is a guy that I think a lot of people are going to get to know this year. I really think that he's the only pitcher that they have. I mean, that rotation is bleh. Mitch Keller, you got Contreras, you got Rich Hill, Vincent
Forgot
Velasquez,
about Rich Hill being there, man.
Brubaker. I mean, that rotation's not good. And
Yeah,
so
Brody Baker's good. I mean, Brody Baker's like a poor man's Lance Lynn back in the day.
yeah, and so I think Rowanski's a guy that a lot of people won't know his name at the beginning of the season, but maybe more people will go, oh man, he's actually a really good pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, there's not much hope for this team, I don't think.
No, last year they lost 100 games. They were tied with the Reds with 100 losses in the division. I think one of my favorite things is they brought back Andrew McCutchen. Mine as well, right? Pencil him in, hit number 3 in the order this year. With Carlos, you look at this team, you're like, this is either all old or all super young. So you got O'Neal Cruz, who's been up barely a month or a little over that, I guess. 110 service days, so it's 3 months.
Yeah,
my bad. And then you got Andrew McCutchen, Carlos Santana being in the middle of the order guys, and then G-Man Choi still there, but everybody else is super, super young outside of Austin Hedges. So, yeah, I don't know. Like you said, the rotation's pretty rough. You look at the bullpen's bad. This is what you expect from a team that doesn't spend any money.
Yep, pretty much.
So, and that's the thing. But which is a bummer. I mean, this is a great ballpark. This is a lot of history here. So, and I don't know that there's a whole lot more to talk about. I mean, unfortunately.
No, I mean they've got a decent farm system, but they've got one or two guys down there that could have been, maybe at some point this year come up and help. But I still think that a lot of their main prospects that have the opportunity to be good, like really good, are still a year or two out. So there's not much help coming from the minor league system, in at least this year. So yeah, it's not going to be a great season again.
Yeah. Do you think they get less than 100 losses? Like, can they win 63 games or more?
I think they can.
Okay.
I'll shoot around like the 66 mark.
Nice. Okay. Well, that would be a step in the right direction for them. And you never know, if you have a really good first start to the season for some of these other guys, you could have these guys like Andrew McCutchen. Maybe he does get traded. I don't know that they would. But Carlos Santana, he was already traded last year from a bad team. You could see that happen again this year. So still room for improvement for some of these guys to break through. So you look at the Cincinnati Reds, tied with the Pirates, like I said, with 100 losses last year. This year they're bringing back obviously Joey Votto, who will turn. I don't think he'll turn 40 this year during the regular season, but he'll be essentially 40 years old this year. He's projected to hit 18 home runs, only hit 230. And he's just not the same guy we used to see. But Jonathan India, still young. Tyler Stevenson, Jake Fraley from that trade last year with Seattle. What does he do? Will Myers found a new home. Kevin Newman and Will Benson playing as well. Came over in trades in the offseason. Yeah, offseason. Both of them were the offseason. So there's a lot of new faces on this team. So the lineup itself. I mean, this is a pretty shaky lineup. This is not a good lineup. Let's not kid ourselves, right?
No, I mean, I think we'll see India have a bounce back year. He was hurt a good bit last year, so I think we'll see, closer to what he did is, rookie of the year, and maybe up it a little bit and have a good solid year. Votto, he's basically already said it. He's sold out for power, and the power's not even there anymore.
I was gonna say he sold out for power. It's projected for 18 home runs this year and 500 at bats. He just doesn't have it.
Yeah, he doesn't have. He sold out for power, but doesn't have the power. Stevenson to me is a very underrated catcher that a lot of people don't really talk about. He's got solid numbers. He's one of those athletic, catchers, kind of like a not really Real Muto, but somewhat in that build of Real Muto, Sean Murphy, more athletic catchers than we've seen, typically. I like Hunter Green. I like Lodolo. I think they've got some good young pieces. A name to watch that if he keeps on hitting like he did in the minor leagues, that there's no way that they can keep him down. There's Christian Encarnacion and Strand. He was a big part of the Melee trade last year. And the kid, all he did was hit like 30 some home runs last year and worked his way up from A ball up to AAA in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Yeah, and he's already crushing the ball during spring. I think he has 5 or 6 home runs already. He's batting like 343 during spring. So there's a chance that he could come up and help the offense a little bit. So that's a guy to keep an eye out down in the minor league system for him. There's a chance that Ellie can be up in the majors this year. He probably will at some point. I don't know if he'll break, spring with the major league team. Maybe keep him down there a couple months, get him a little more power.
That's what I would imagine they'll do. Just since they're in no place to compete right now, they'll probably save it because I don't think he's a super 2. To bring him up and then hopefully he gets pick compensation, all that kind of stuff. That's super complicated, by the way. Good Lord.
Yeah, I would expect it to be somewhat along the O'Neal Cruz line. How the Pirates, handled O'Neal Cruz. And like I said, he's one of those guys that's either boom or bust. And if it's a bust, it's a big bust. If it's a boom, it's a big boom.
Yeah, there you go. And that's what a team like this needs, though. And I look at this team, and if you get a healthy Joey Votto, but he's almost 40, he wasn't healthy last year. He was pretty healthy the year before that, and then the COVID year before that. But I don't see anybody on this team that I think can hit 30 home runs. And if you can't score runs, I don't know what this team is going to do because there's also no one on this team that you're like, yeah, this team's batting average is going to be around 270 as a whole. Eric in the chat says to tank and wait is the smart play for them. I want to point this out. Colin, you did mention that the Pit is your sleeper in the Central. I think if you mean they're going to fall asleep during the season, then you're correct. I love the boldness of that prediction. I don't know if that's bolder than what I said about Nootbaar and Juan Soto, but I think it's great. I just don't like tanking. I hate tanking. I think you got to build a better culture than that.
And baseball is really the one sport that tanking doesn't quite work because drafting in baseball is the hardest thing in sports to do.
Hard, dude.
Yes. Like we mentioned last week, you look at previous drafts, all these guys that go number 1 or top first round picks. There's a good portion of these guys that do not make it to the majors, and never see him pitch, never touch the field in a major league setting because it's such a boom or bust sport. It's the hardest sport, team sport in sports, and it is. So I think tanking from baseball, it's really tough. Now, the biggest thing for them is, for the teams like this, is being able to maybe develop some guys and ship them off and get more, and hopefully those guys develop. That's their best bet because the Reds aren't going to be getting the big free agents. Pirates aren't going to be getting big free agents. So it's going to be tough for them to build their team. That they will have to do the draft. And so maybe tanking and getting these high picks is possibly their best option, but there's still that big chance that, or a big chance that you're going to miss on these guys.
Yeah, I agree. So you mentioned some of the trades. So someone put in the chat, what about could you imagine a world where Joey Votto gets traded? and he agrees to it? Because he's having a good first half of the year, gets traded to a contender.
Yeah, I could see it just because, maybe they go, well, he's going to retire this year. We'll give him a chance. They probably won't get a whole lot back for him because this is more than likely it. But also they may go, man, this guy's been with us his whole career, and we don't want to go and play him for a different team at the end of his career. He's one of the few people that maybe bring people, fans into the stands at this point because of, the longevity and the loyalty he's had to Cincinnati. So I would probably lean more towards no. Is there a possibility? Yeah, I think, there's always a possibility with everything, but I would probably lean more towards no, just because who else after that is going to bring people in besides maybe Jonathan India and
that's a good point.
Towards the second half of the season, Ellie De La Cruz.
Okay. Well, we could see that. We had someone say take him to Canada, wants him in the Blue Jays uniform. Maybe. I mean, they always say that whole thing about going home. That was a big thing with Corey
Mhm.
Seager. And you lived through that year after year for a while with Clayton Kershaw.
So,
Wanting to
yeah,
go back home to Dallas. He's a Dodger. Come on now, people.
yeah.
Come on now, people. All right, so we talked enough about two teams that combined for 200 losses last year. Let's move on to one of my least favorite teams in all of sports. Yes, you guessed it, the Chicago stupid Cubs. Hate the Cubs. Hate the Cubs. Loved last year. Loved the year before that when they had like the same record as the Cardinals, and then they decided to sell. Loved it. I think that was the year before, right?
Yeah, and then they missed that opportunity this last year. They said, "Oh, we might be able to make a playoff push. Let's go ahead and keep Contreras, then lose him for nothing."
What are you talking about? We got him. We got him. We got the best deal on a catcher in the offseason, I think.
Well, I'm saying the Cubs got him for nothing.
Oh yeah, no,
you gave him up for nothing. You could have traded him to a team and get something, because that's a farm system starving of potential, and you didn't get nothing for the guy.
Yeah, and what's tough is the replacement that they ended up getting was Tucker Barnhart, who has been a really solid defensive catcher. I think that they're getting him. He's not maybe as he was back before with the juice ball. He looked pretty decent on offense, or more decent. Pretty decent. I'm bad.
Yeah,
but I just think you're just not going to expect. It's almost an out most of the time at this point. And he's 32, so we know who he is. But he's great defensively, which will help with the new rules on the base path. Patrick Wisdom, same thing. The dude can absolutely mash the ball if he makes contact. The problem is he's going to hit 209, 210, 215 on a good year. Hosmer, hey, there you go. Well, let's go ahead and clog up first base.
Yeah. Yeah, let's keep Mervis down in the minor leagues. I mean, he's really the only guy down there that has showed some potential. So we'll block him, kind of like the Red Sox did with Casas. We'll get Eric Hosmer and block our best prospect down in the minor leagues. Sounds perfect.
Yeah, there's a big difference between tanking and then maybe, and obviously letting the young guys play. And someone already mentioned that too in the chat, which is great. And I think Eric Hosmer, I think he still has baseball left in him. He's been competitive. And the fact that the Cubs signed him, if I was a Cubs fan, I would be upset, but I would understand it, thinking he's probably not going to stay here the whole year. Like maybe he gets shipped out. Maybe instead of Joey Votto going somewhere, Eric Hosmer is the guy that goes somewhere. I could see that. I mean, same thing happened last year. But this lineup, Cody Bellinger's new home, will it be a different outcome? You look at this lineup; they have 3 people back from last year in this lineup, that are projected starters. Everybody else is new. So you have Ian Happ. Okay, makes sense. But will he be there at the end of the year? I don't know. Nico Horner, and then obviously we had where is he at? Patrick Wisdom. We already mentioned Wisdom. So everybody else on the starting lineup right now is new faces. So you see this, and you could absolutely, I think you could see this team get close to 75, 80 wins if everything falls right. But I don't know about this rotation. We have Jameson Taillon, who again we know who he is. Justin Steele is not bad if he can stay healthy enough. Drew Smiley, and then Hayden Wesneski is
Wesneski has some decent upside. Yeah. And was kind of a guy that got traded to the from the Yankees that a lot of people are like, he's a tweener. We're not quite sure if he's a starter, if he's in the bullpen. And he came out last year and pitched pretty solid for him, some starts that he had. Kyle Hendricks, I don't know how long he's out for. He had the shoulder surgery, so that would help the rotation a lot because Hendricks is still a serviceable, solid starter. Nothing like he was back when he was floating around the Cy Young era. But this team I'm not quite too sold on it. Yeah, 74 wins to me is about where I see. I don't understand why Dansby Swanson wanted to go here.
I forgot about Dansby Swanson. So that is the one good thing. Like Dansby Swanson, I literally totally spaced over him being here. He was the one that I thought the Cardinals might go after of all of them because I thought he'd be the cheapest. But the dude's 29, and you gotta. So why pay him over Chris Bryant at the time? Obviously, hopefully he's more healthy, but
yeah. I guess there's one big thing I can see that he brings that Bryant doesn't bring, and that's leadership in the clubhouse. He's going to be your leader. But my biggest thing is, like, if I'm Dansby, why would I want to go to an organization that ain't going to compete for anything coming from an organization where you've won a World Series and you've competed for the
You're
last
set.
5 years. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and Dansby Swanson, I think he could have a good year. The one thing I was going to ask was more likely for the Cubs this year to win 90 games, right?
Mhm.
Or to lose, let's say, 95 games.
I say the lose.
Whew, man, that has got to be tough to swallow.
Yeah. I don't see them being able to come close touching that 90 mark. They brought in some decent guys. And like I said, I think Bellinger has a bounce back year, somewhat bounce back year, hit around the 250 mark, 20 some home runs, hopefully, for him, and give somewhat glimmer of a hope. I'm still not sold on Hosmer is who Hosmer is. I don't know if he's going to get on base everyone, have a decent average.
Yeah.
The power numbers aren't there. He never lived up to that power number that we expected from him.
Mm-hmm.
Solid glove. The same thing with Dansby. He's gonna hit home runs. He's gonna hit on base.
Yeah.
He's gonna be your most consistent guy. Hap is a solid guy. So they have the pieces, but I think rotation in the bullpen is going to be the biggest problem for them getting anywhere close to that 90 mark.
Yeah. Well, you got to look at the team last year. Who was everybody fell in love with when he was playing? Wasn't it Nick Madrigal? Who was it? That every time Christopher Morel, that's who it was. Sorry.
Yeah.
They still have him. He's a good bench guy, but I don't think you're going to expect a whole he's not like an all-star thing like that. So I get Alejandro in the chat saying that Albert Pujols needs to come back. I would love it. I loved watching Albert Pujols play. You could see him get to 715. Maybe he can get 12 more home runs or so. Yeah, it's only 12 more. He could do that, but he ain't coming back. But he did say he's open to a coaching role.
Hey, there you go. My biggest thing for Pujols was that he had the numbers last year because he gave it every last ounce he had. And
probably true.
I don't think he could go through another 160 game season. And just one quick side note that you brought up Albert Pujols being the coach, and something I noticed watching the WBC is watch for MJ Melendez this year, and you're probably like, oh, why?
Well, come on now.
Yadier Molina is one of the coaches on that Puerto Rico team, and so him being around him for being around him for almost a month. If I was him, I'd be spending every single waking second I could with him. Just take it all in, because Yachty, I mean, especially the big thing for Melendez is the defensive side. We know he's going to hit. He's fast. He's athletic. You take all that you can get in from Yachty. So maybe watch this year for MJ Melendez. To be maybe a little bit better than we were expecting. I mean, because I still think he's going to have a big year, and I think that maybe spending that month, with Yachty is able to give him a little bit more than what he would have just being around the Royals organization.
Yeah, and I always thought oh yeah, it'd be so cool to have Molina back or Pujols at this point now to be as a coach. I just don't see Molina maybe coaching in Major League Baseball for a while because he just loves Puerto Rico and he's going to enjoy retirement for a little while. And then you have Albert Pujols. He, in his contract with the Angels, that one massive 10-year, $240 million, that one had an advisory role after his contract expired. So he's still living out some of that. So you're not going to see him as a coach, I don't think, for a little bit. But
yeah.
So any other final thoughts you have on the Cubs? I mean, I think it's surprising to think that this is more likely to get to 95 losses than 90 wins. Because last year, keep in mind, they only had 88 losses. So that's only a couple here and there to see what happens.
I just don't see it. I think a big part that will play into it is you're playing 6 less games in division. That means you're playing the Pirates less and the Reds less.
100% true. Yeah, and you're going to need those games to really to win. So let's look at the Brewers, who this team, I think they're struggling to find an identity. You talk about playoff windows, you talk about championship windows, and this was one a couple of years ago that you thought, ooh, this team has a window. They have a legit shot. You talk about Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff. This is two of the top, I would argue, one of the best top ace duos in all of baseball. Eric Lauer, Freddie Peralta, again, these guys are no slouches either. Wade Miley, not really excited about, but they have depth here, and they have they had a good bullpen. Devin Williams, Matt Bush has shown a resurgence since he's come back. I mean, so he's a seasoned vet at this point. But I look at those things and I like it, but I look at the offense and I am just not sold.
Yeah.
It's so shaky. I mean, Christian Yelich at this point is 31. It's clear that I don't think he is who they thought he was. He's injuries now and his back, and it doesn't look like it's going to work out well. And it sucks because they are not a big market team and they don't have the ability to go out there and just pay.
Mm-hmm.
So here they are now. We're seeing the other side of it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly my first notes was, where's the offense going to come from?
Because they don't have Colton Wong anymore. They did get Willem Contreras. Jesse Winkler's here too. Maybe this is a new site, new city, new him, right?
Yeah.
And then Brian Anderson made his way over here.
Yeah, I mean, Adames is going to hit. Be close to 30 home run guy. I'm not sold on Rowdy Tellez doing what he did the last year. I'm not quite sold on that aspect of it. I think last year was kind of just a fluke.
Okay.
He has the power to hit, 20 plus home runs every season. So maybe he does. But other than that, like you said, Yelich is getting older. Injuries caught up to him. They've got a couple young guys in Bryce Turang and Garrett Mitchell that may be able to bring a little bit of, offense, more offense than they've had. Sal Frelick is another young guy who could potentially find his way into the major leagues. But yeah, you're banking on young guys hitting to help yourself. Because like you said, the rotation is there. You've got depth, throughout the rotation. So one guy gets hurt, you've got other guys like Adrian Hauser down there, Ashby, Aaron Ashby, who can, make spot starts here and there. So you've got guys. So if someone does get hurt, you got a solid bullpen. You just got to find some offense somewheres. And I don't know if they can find it, enough of it to really make them a contender with the rotation that they have.
Yeah, and I totally agree because you get this team in a 5-game series in the playoffs and you see those guys twice eat. You're like, I don't know, man. Like, this is going to be tough. But then you got to realize that offensive lineup is going to see the same thing on the other side, most likely, unless they're playing the Cardinals. So you're like, what are we going to do? So I don't know. I'm not inspired by the team right now. There's a lot of good, not great pieces. And I think that's the definition of what you're talking about. I don't know exactly where it's all going to come from. Rowdy Tellez, to me, like you said, what he brings on the offensive side is good. It's not great. And what he brings on the defensive side is the opposite. He's not a great first baseman at all. Like, he's pretty below par. And because I have seen what an incredible first baseman does to a team, and especially on the defensive side, what it can do. And I've seen what it looks like without that. I remember Matt Carpenter. I remember Jose Martinez. I remember these guys who were so bad at first base, and the Cardinals would have one of the worst defenses. I think that's a weakness that you're going to see on this team this year is the defense. Is Bryce Turang, is he's going to be as good defensively at second base? Because if he's not, there's Colton Wong, who's a two-time gold glove essentially. What is it going to look like to have him and Rowdy Tellez on that side of the field? I just don't trust it. Luis Ariz he's good. That's another thing. We haven't talked a whole lot about defense yet, but we're gonna hear because we're going to the Cardinals next, and that is where they excel. Where this team, they're going to be great on the rotation. It's just the defensive side and the batting is going to leave a lot to be desired. The more I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and see, I'm glad you brought that part up because it's not something I quite thought about. And with the new shift rules, it's going to make Tellez's defense even more of a deficit because now he doesn't have. When a left-handed hitter is up, he doesn't have that extra help where that guy's in the middle of the, playing short right field, and he doesn't have to, worry about getting over and hopefully stopping a ball from getting to the right field. So that is a big aspect that I didn't quite think about it, and glad you brought that part up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. I mean, that's one of those things that I love Colton Wong as a Cardinal because he was just so good. Obviously, Tommy Edman, Gold Glover, and then Brandon Donovan, Gold Glove util guy. So you got to be like, oh, it's going to be okay. So either way, it's going to be a huge thing to see this year. Because, and let's go off side tangent real quick. So you sent me that picture. We predicted it would happen. It's going to happen. First off, Eric, we're going to get to that comment here in a second. Man, I'm a little interested to see why you think that. But the shift, when you can't move over the infielders, but they decide to bring over the left fielder, I don't think, the more I've thought about it, the more I don't think that'll actually happen.
I've only seen it happen once.
Right, because the difference between a third baseman going out to the left field and a left fielder going over to right field is the difference between a single, maybe a double, to a triple, maybe an inside the park home run if they get it to the right spot. And that's just too big of a gamble, I think, to move over. So I don't think that that'll happen. It may occasionally, but I don't think we'll nearly see the same widespreadness of it that we did with the shift, especially the last couple of years.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, I've always didn't want happen once so far in the spring training. It may have happened more. I didn't see it, but the Red Sox were the only team I've seen so far that's utilized that, and it was one at bat.
And so they could tell their fans, "Hey, we're trying stuff.
Yeah,
buy tickets. We're trying stuff.
Yeah, be excited. We did something no one else did."
Word's out that Tubby is feeling like he's going to pick them to be a hot candidate for the wild card.
No.
Nope. Okay, never mind.
No,
we're just trying.
I don't make that mistake twice.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. The Red Sox were one of those teams that, like the Giants, when they were really good, that they would win the World Series, miss the playoffs. Win the World Series, miss the playoffs. So maybe this is that year, put it all together. It's not. Okay, it's not. Well, you heard it here first. Well, I'm curious. So we did this with the Cubs. Are the Brewers more likely to lose 90 games or win 90 games?
I would say win.
Okay, good. I just wanted to see how far you were leaning towards the other side. That rotation is just too good.
Yeah, I think that rotation is just too good for them to lose that many games. And I think there'll be enough offense for them to get close. I would say 86 wins is probably where I would feel more comfortable with them. Yeah, I don't see it being a whole lot different. It may be a few games less just because I don't know offensive wise if it'll be quite there, but yeah, that's about where I would project them.
Good. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead. We're gonna move on to the Cardinals, and I'm gonna let you go first.
So this team is terrible.
Wow. I mean, you and Eric both said that. Eric put that in the chat.
No.
STL is in trouble. Okay, fine.
No, I'm ready to go. This division, it should easily be the Cardinals. I think that they are overall a solid team. Yeah, I think the pitching is the one issue, like starting rotation, where you could see some problems. Flaherty is a big factor. If he can stay healthy, then you've got you a great young pitcher, because we've seen what Flaherty can do when he is healthy, and Flaherty, when healthy, was one of the best. I think we had this argument, 3 or 4 years ago, who is the best young pitcher, Flaherty or Walker Buehler? And it was that kind of conversation that we were having, because Flaherty was that good, but the injuries over the last few years have really derailed that upstart that he had. But if he's healthy, him and Wainwright is a solid, he's a constant in baseball. The old man gets it done. And if we see even half of what we saw from Jordan Montgomery next year, you've got a solid 1-2-3 punch there. And Michaelis is another guy. I mean, Michaelis had a kind of a resurgent year last year compared to what he had due to injuries. So the injury concern on that part is there, but I really think the rotation will be good. Defensive wise, no one in baseball can really touch them. That defense that they have is
a little
insane.
Unfair.
Yeah, you got Goldschmidt, you got Arenado. Can Carlson and O'Neill, can they make that step forward? Can they stay on the field? Can we see the power numbers for each of them kind of go up? Tommy Edmonds is one of the most rated players in baseball. Yeah, he's not going to have the huge, huge batting average, home runs or whatever, but the guy can play a lot of positions, and defensive wise, play them really, 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 really good. And
he's a typical Cardinal. He's the guy that everyone undersells.
And it's Colton Wong all over again, basically.
Yeah. I'd say he's a little bit better than Colton Wong. He's a little more versatile on defense, like more.
Yeah, you can play him.
On the offensive side, he has more speed.
Yeah, and the big factor is going to be the same factor as it was last year's. Where's the power going to come from the left side of the plate? Can we see Gorman be that guy? Can Lars Newbar, a guy that we've seen early on, start hitting really well? So who's going to be that guy? And then do we see Jordan Walker this
Yeah,
You
I
know.
think at some point you would definitely will see Jordan Walker. What we've seen from the Cardinals in their minor league the last couple of years is he won't make the team this year. I don't think, or he
Mhm.
won't make it right out of the gate.
Oh, yeah.
But he will at some point be up, whether it be in June, whether it's in September. He's for sure going to get called up, I would say. But let me pause real quick. Nolan Gorman, you talk about left side. How many home runs do you think he hit last year altogether?
I would say 14.
Oh, sorry, I didn't specify enough in both, and all across baseball, not necessarily only home.
Oh,
You were correct.
not just
14 in
not just major league. Oh, he had some power while he was down there. Yeah, I mean, I would say total. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna say 32.
You're close. He hit 30 home runs last year. So I
Yeah.
know he's worked a lot on his
Mhm.
swing this offseason to take that spot where he was exploited by pitchers, where he just couldn't hit the
Yeah.
ball, he couldn't turn on it quick enough. I'm not saying he's going to hit 275 and have a slugging percentage at 585 like he did in the minors last year with 16 home runs in just 43 games, but I do think we're going to see better than the 226 and the slugging percentage around 420, which isn't bad. I mean, it's not where he's normally been. I think this year he's projected. What has he had this year? Nolan Gorman, like just under 20 home runs. I think it's woefully low, but they're also only getting him like left-handed at bats as DH. They're not giving him all the at bats. So I think you'll see him hopefully take a step up. I mean, they fully believe in him, and they don't have that left-handed bat. Alec Burleson has been pretty good. He's shown a ton of power in the minors, so you could see him also steal some of those. But you know what? More importantly than that, please just make sure Paul DeJong does not see the field.
I agree with the Nolan Gorman thing. I'm still really high on Nolan Gorman. I think Nolan Gorman can be a really good, major league power hitter. He has that potential to at some point being 35 plus home runs in
Been
his
in the league
career.
for 4 months, and everyone's already forgot about it.
Yeah, no, I'm all on the Gorman. My biggest thing is, you talk like Jordan Walker. Yeah, he's gonna find the major at some point. But the biggest problem is the depth for the Cardinals in the outfield is huge. I mean, you got O'Neill Cruz, or you got Tyler O'Neill. Well, where's he going to get the at bats?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like,
he's
second base.
Second base.
That's his normal position.
Jordan Walker?
Oh, sorry. I thought we were still
no. I'm talking about Jordan Walker. No, I'm talking about I imagine Nolan's going to DH most of the time. Yeah. No, I'm talking about Jordan Walker. Where the bat's going to come? Where the playing time going to be? So I would imagine if that's the case, that we see one of those, at least one of those guys getting traded somewheres.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be the big biggest thing for him to get to the majors. But that's where I'm like, when we should see him, but when will we? Because if Carlson's hitting good, if Tyler O'Neill's healthy, if Newbar's hitting good, if Burleson, he's already going to be up. You got to find and Juan Yepes, he can kind of play outfield first.
Please don't put him in the outfield.
Yeah,
I mean, you talk about defense. That dude that needs to be DH.
Yeah,
it's like Jose Martinez.
So I mean, yeah, he kind of he quote unquote does hold one of those outfield spots. Yeah, yes. But so yeah, the Walker, I think he should be up because I mean the kid is a freaky combination of power and speed, and for the size he is, so he should find way up to the majors. It's just where the at bats and where his playing time going to come.
Yeah, well, and so if you had to choose, I would say like I think Yepes could potentially be traded more so over O'Neill. I think they believe in O'Neill more than they do Juan Yepes. And we talk about defense. O'Neill is a 2-time Gold Glover. He has so much speed. Hopefully this year he's figured out how to be more lean and not so just stiff. I think that's what has really gotten into him into some trouble. They're projecting him for a typical season for him: 27 home runs, 16 stolen bases, 246 average. It's about what I would expect. It's not his MVP top 10 MVP vote getter a couple years ago, but it is much, much better, and they're giving him more at bats. So hopefully he's healthy. Paul DeJong, I mean, you look at the projected bench right now, and I hate it. I hate it so much because it's Andrew Kisner, who I'm fine with as a backup catcher, Juan Yepes, who I'm fine with, but I hate seeing him being one of those outfielder guys that you have that we mentioned, and then Paul DeJong. This one, you got to move on. And I get they're paying him so much money, but you got to move on. He can't hit the bat. He's not good at baseball anymore.
No, not quite.
So Alec Burleson, we'll see. I think he'll do better than what most people think, but the path to it, I think, is you got to move on from like Yepes or something like that. I still believe in Dylan Carlson. People are like moving on from him. The dude's 24. He's
Yeah.
24 years old. I think we should be okay to keep giving him reps. Brandon Donovan looks like all he's been doing this offseason is lifting weights. He's crashing the ball, multiple home runs already, leading the team in RBIs. I think he's at 4-10. And he's projected to be towards the bottom lineup, but you could see him sneak up there to the top. I think you talk about left-handed, where does it come from? Newbar, Gorman, and Donovan. If those guys, if they can stay consistent and be healthy, you could have a very balanced lineup. My biggest fear is you get into the playoffs, and this is the thing. Does the rotation have the two aces that you need? If Flaherty's healthy, yes. Montgomery does what he did most of last year with the Cardinals. Not an ace, but a third. Miles Mikolas would have to be that too. I don't think Adam Wainwright will be in the playoffs.
I mean, the older part of how much more can Wainwright's arm take going forward, because he hasn't had a great spring. He really hasn't. He's been a little more shaky in the spring and didn't pitch too great during the WBC game. His start, it was solid, 3 or 4 innings, but it wasn't the Wainwright that we've seen. So maybe it's just kind of getting the rust knocked off at the beginning of the season, which is a big part of it. But can he hold up through the whole season and help you in the?
I just don't know.
Yeah, top of the rotation guy. I mean, that is the question. Flaherty's the biggest wild card on that team, if he can stay healthy or not. And if he does, you've got a great. To me, he's the ace of that staff. But if not, then I don't know. Maybe Matthew Liberatore can take a big jump this year. And
Liberatore, he's looked much better this spring too. Which again, we talked about this last year. We don't really put a whole lot of stock into spring stats. I put more into like, hey, do you have good command as a pitcher? Are you walking too many guys? Are you striking more guys out than you're walking? All that kind of stuff. But for hitters, it's, are you just making good contact? Are you seeing the ball well? I'm not putting a whole lot of stock into it. But I get really excited because I look at Mason Wynn, and I think I'd much rather have him up there than Paul DeJong. This kid looks much, much more just energetic. Like he's ready to play ball.
Well, I mean, he does the one thing that the Cardinals need, or they do, play defense.
That is very true. He's hitting the ball, though. What are you talking about?
I mean, that's not where he's going to make his money in the major leagues.
No. But he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He strikes out a little bit, but not too crazy amount this year. So we'll see. He's not projected to make the team this year, so don't worry about that, anybody. But I would much rather see him up there than Paul DeJong. Paul DeJong just drives me insane.
Yeah.
So this team, Eric mentioned in the chat, good luck against the Dodgers, Padres, or Atlanta, or the Mets. Any of these teams that have two aces. This team, if they're on fire, they're going to put up big numbers. They're going to put up crooked numbers in the innings. I just worry that will they actually be able to do that. So we're going to have to move on to the NL West, but we'll get on to predictions. I think we both agree this is the Cardinals division to lose. It really is. But so we got the Los Angeles Dodgers, the reigning champs, everyone's favorite pick right now to say, hey, the Dodgers are already done. I don't know if you felt that at all, but everyone's saying the Padres are going to win. So we're going to start with whichever team you want. It's your division.
So, I mean, let's just get the bottom dwellers out of the way.
All right, let's go Rockies.
Yeah, we know what the Rockies are going to do, and they're in that conversation, with the Nationals and the A's going, you could be the worst team in baseball.
Charlie Blackmon, Chris Bryant, CJ Cron. What are you talking about?
Hey, have you looked at that rotation? It may be the worst rotation in baseball. And we were just talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates.
They have 4 guys projected with an ERA over 5 this year.
Yeah.
I know it's Colorado, but still.
Yeah, you got Herman Marquez. You got Freeland, who has been a shell of the guy he was, 4 years ago when he was getting Cy Young votes. Then you got, who is it? Connor Siebel, Jose Uriah, and Austin Gomber. I mean,
hey, man, that's a former Cardinal right there. Austin Gomber.
Yeah. Gosh, you can't believe that was one of the big pieces that they got for Arenado.
Can you name the other player on the team right now that is from that trade?
No.
Projected the roster?
Uh-uh.
I don't even know this guy's name. He's the DH, Ilarius Montero. I could be
Okay.
mispronouncing it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I never heard of the guy either. But yeah, he was included in that same trade.
Yeah, I mean, you got Ezekiel Tovar, the young kid that maybe brings some excitement, but he's not going to hit, a lot. He's a great defensive, shortstop. But man, that team is bad.
It is so bad. And you're right. Eric put it in the chat. $7 for a ticket right now. That's a good deal and a nice ballpark too. We mentioned there's got to be at least one reason to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Bryant may hit the ball out of the stadium once or twice. CJ Cron. There you go.
There's no way CJ Cron has the season he had last year. I don't see that. Even being in Colorado.
You're not a believer, man.
I'm not. Nope.
I love it. Yeah. So I don't know. So the main thing we want to talk about, I think, for this team that at least I'm curious about is going to be Chris Bryant. I mean, what a disaster of a year he had last year. His first year with the team. I don't know. I never liked him as a Cub because he was a Cub. So it wasn't his fault. It was more me. Look at this guy and you see it. And last year he had, what was it? 30? No, he had 42 games. That was it. What does he look like this year?
I mean, they paid that guy a lot of money just to play 42 games.
I know.
Yeah. This team, there's not a whole lot you can talk about. The Chris Bryant, maybe if he plays enough games, hit 22 home runs, maybe, and that's if he plays enough games, if he can. So there's not a whole lot to talk about this team. This is kind of like we just kind of move on and say, they bad.
Do they get 110 losses? That's a lot of losses.
That's a lot of losses. I'll say no, but there's a very, very real possibility that they could, because
if I would have said 105, you would have been like, yes.
Yeah.
That was the number, which is 10 worse than last year. All right. So we're going to move on to the Diamondbacks, who I think quietly have done some stuff this offseason, which is good. I mean, Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Joining the team from Toronto this year. Corbin Carroll is expected to be up right away, which is good. Christian Walker, the first baseman who's taken over since Paul Goldschmidt left, he's done a good job overall. Alec Thomas, Carson Kelly, another former Cardinal in a big trade, still there.
Yeah,
but that's all I got. So I mean, I will say the top end of the rotation I do like. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, I like both those guys, but that's it.
Merrill Kelly's the other WBC starter for the USA team.
Okay, that's good. There it is.
But so this is one of those teams that I circled, and I was like, if the young talent can produce, because I'm huge, and I hate it because I'm a Dodgers fan, but I'm big on Corbin Carroll. I love the way the kid plays, speed, power, everything. I mean, did you see the massive contract he got?
No,
he signed a big extension, 8 years, $111 million for playing a month of base, in the majors last year.
That's
so I think him. I really like Alec Thomas also. I think Alec Thomas is a really good one. Getting Gabriel Moreno in the trade, shipping off Barso, I think it really gives you a good young catcher, potential. You got Marte. Carson. Kelly's gonna find his way out of the lineup probably pretty soon. You still got Ketel Marte there. So I think if the young players can really get going, they could be a competitive and hard team to beat. But it's the rotation besides Gallen and Carroll, or Merrill, that you go, okay, Bumgarner, he's kind of been, as his name says, a bum for the Diamondbacks since he's been there.
He really has. He's only 33 years old too.
And then the other guys that I don't even know if they're worth. I can't even remember the names off the top of my head. Zach Davies. He's a journeyman. Hasn't really ever settled
Ryan
down.
Nelson.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's a prospect, so we'll see if he does. I wouldn't be surprised if he does in the full time, but
yeah. I mean, there's a kid down in the minor leagues, Patrick Fat, who may be able to come up and help. He's really showed a lot of big strikeout potential for them. So maybe that guy come up and help. But yeah, the pitching's where the problem is. And it was one of those teams that I mentioned last week that if the pitching can match what the young potential can do, they could be a team that people are afraid, not really afraid of, but they're like, they really don't want to play them because they're going to be a tough, out
Yeah,
every
you're not
single
going to
time they
walk
play
over
them.
and sweep 3 games easy.
Yeah, so they could, if like I said, the pitching, meets there, they could, potentially push for a wild card spot because I think the young players there are that good. And Kyle Lewis is a guy I don't think a lot of people are, looking at, that got traded from the Mariners, who is hurt, but once he gets healthy and stuff, he was rookie of the year. And injuries have, hurt him, but if he can come and be healthy and do what he did that rookie of the year and, maybe boost it a little bit, you've got a really solid outfield: Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, and Kyle Lewis.
Which a lot of teams can't say right now. There's not a whole lot of
Yeah.
great outfielders out there with teams. So I like the fact that, like maybe they could sneak up maybe 10 more wins, 84 wins this year, I think is doable for this team, which is great, especially if they can stay healthy on the rotational side of things.
Yeah.
The bullpen, we'll see what it looks like. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on bullpens just because they're so volatile, but still got Mark Melanson.
Yeah. Hey, old Mark.
Old Mark. Still throwing games, apparently.
Yeah.
Did you know Ketel Marte is not even 30 yet? I feel like he's 35. So
yeah, he feels like he's been there for a very long time.
So we're going to go to your favorite team of all time. The New York Giants. No, not the Giants. The San Francisco Giants.
Yeah. This team's not very good either.
Isn't it surprising? Like this team, a couple years ago, this team, they wanted us to be talking about Aaron Judge right now with them. They wanted us to be talking about Carlos Correa at this time. And instead, we're going to be talking about Michael Conforto and
Mitch Haniger.
There it is. I was trying to scroll down those. I was like, man, what am I even going to be talking about here?
Yeah. This is a team that probably struck out the biggest in baseball this year.
And it's a good market. It's a great baseball city. It's a great fandom. I mean, it's a huge market. I don't understand how they struck out so bad.
And
other than they just took the wrong shots.
I will say I did call that they would be 500 last year. I said that they would finish right around the 580 win, 80, 81. Yeah. And the thing is, I think they take even bigger step back this year. You got Logan Webb, who I think is a solid, pitcher. And then the rest of them, you're banking on Alex Cobb, Alex Wood, Sean Manaea, to have a bounce back year.
Ross Stripling.
Yeah, Ross Stripling. The rotation, average is probably close to 32, 31 years old. You've got you're banking on old pitchers to pitch good, and it's just not a place to really look at. And I think Camilo Doval is a great, exciting closer. The stuff he has is nasty.
I like Taylor Rogers too.
Yeah, and say both Rogers, Taylor and whatever the other one's name is. You've got both Rogers in the bullpen, so that helps. And they were both.
Brebbia was good.
Who?
Brebbia. Oh, Tyler.
Yeah.
Rogers was the other one. Sorry.
Yeah. So you get some solid guys in the bullpen, and they're kind of like the Dodgers, where they always have like a sneaky good bullpen every year, and they may not be like the biggest name players, and they find them out of nowhere and they do good. But man, there's just a lot to look at this team and you go, where are you going and how are you going to get there?
Yeah. Luckily they don't have Evan Longoria. The team we just finished talking about has Evan Longoria, so they don't have to worry about that anymore, which is good. Yeah, so it's just Michael Conforto. I was not excited about him as a pick. I mean, he's gonna get paid a lot of money. He's projected to hit 250 with 18 home runs. I mean, I don't know if that's. I mean, that was the big splash.
Didn't play a single game last year of competitive baseball.
Yeah,
missed the whole season.
Yeah, Jock Peterson's expected to be a little bit better this year, which maybe that's true without the shift. But
yeah,
he's a fun guy to watch at least.
Yeah, I love Jock as a even though he plays for the rancid Giants, I still love Jock because he was an exciting player to watch, and he was someone that watched move up through the Dodgers system. But yeah, I would say Jock probably has a better a little bit better season. You got Brandon Crawford, who I would think will retire after this year. Is Joey Bart ever going to be anything? That's another big question with that team. Is that
I don't think so, dude.
Yeah,
catcher is just so hard too. So maybe we're wrong, but Joey Bart has definitely not lived up to what he was. But he's only been in the majors for a little over 1 year.
Yeah,
it's so hard to tell. But the problem is, I mean, the bar is so high with his
Buster
expectations
Posey.
plus Buster Posey. So it's just tough for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
So
got to hope for their sake.
yeah, I think this is a team that we see probably win closer to the 77, 78 wins.
Oh, man. Yeah, roughly what the Diamondbacks did last year, a little bit worse, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a small step backwards. Maybe they're a very analytically driven team. I do like their
Yes.
manager overall. You'll just see what they can put together overall with all the pieces. The team that did try to put everything together last year and didn't work out, thank goodness, was the Padres, quickly becoming my second, I'm going to say third least favorite team right now in baseball, besides the Cubs, and you guessed it, the Astros. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Padres right up there. A lot of turnover this last year. A lot of turnover on this team, which may be a good thing. They did sign Xander Bogaerts, Nelson Cruz to play DH, Matt Carpenter to not play DH, play right field. I know, right field totally makes sense. So this team right here, there's a lot of new faces on it. Juan Soto's still here for the full season. Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado, Hassan Kim, Trent Grisham, Austin All. This is not as good of a lineup, I think, as most people think.
I think it is a very top heavy lineup.
Definitely top heavy.
Yeah. And then eventually Tatis will be in that lineup somewhere. Probably in right. I would guess probably right field is. Yeah, I mean, I'd be worried to put him in the right field because he's never really played the outfield, and so maybe they should probably think about putting him in left field. But that's just me. But yeah, having Matt Carpenter start the season right field, that's not great.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, defensive wise, that's a big hole.
Yeah,
you got over there, and so yeah, I really think that this is a team that we say the Mets are going to Mets. I think there's a good chance that we say the Padres are going to Padre. I feel like there's just going to be something that happens, that always happens. Yeah, last year they did make to the NL championship game, but I don't know. I feel like there's so much hype around them. This is the pick everyone wants to pick. Oh, them are the Braves, and I have questions about the rotation. Musgrove's hurt. Snell, he hasn't been anything close to the Cy Young pitcher he was, with the Rays. Darvish, there's always injury, concerns with him. I think Nick Martinez is one of their starters, and he's a serviceable, fourth, fifth starter. But I feel like rotation wise, there's still some questions. I feel like the bullpen, and like you said, we don't like talk bullpen because the volatility, but the bullpen was really good at the end of last year. Putting Hader in there, but they had some guys that came out of nowhere, and
which usually happens with good.
Yeah, and so are those guys going to go? This was a 1-year deal, and are we going to revert back to what it was before? These pitchers that didn't really have great careers to begin with, and they have one great year, and everyone's like, "Oh, yep, let's pay him up." And so there's just something about the team that, and I may be biased. I don't think they live up close to what everyone's thinking.
Well, I'd be curious to see what Eric in the chat, what team you affiliate with, because he says he lives in San Diego and says they don't have it. So that's a team I got very close to the source, and probably not biased. That's what we'd hope.
I know he's a Dodgers fan.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe he's a little biased, but he lives close to the source. Okay, he's not a Padres fan for a reason.
Yeah. No. So I just think this is a team that will probably underachieve like they normally do. And after spending all this money, and then I really feel like the window for them is this year or next year, and then they're going to have to figure out what
that's good because that's what they have left with Juan Soto.
Yep, and that's exactly why I said that.
Yeah. There you
go.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure out who you're going to pay, because unless they're willing to be high rollers like the Dodgers and the Yankees and these teams that are okay with paying the big luxury tax, big payrolls, they're going to have to do something, because you have too many guys on massive contracts, and you're going to have to find a way to pay Juan Soto
or you're going to
Josh
have to look like this with Matt Carpenter playing right field until Fernando Tatis gets back.
Yep.
Or Fernando Tatis is back and we don't have no Juan Soto. Matt Carpenter, could you play left field for us, please?
Yeah, because the depth on that team is not good.
Yeah. Yes. This is the fun pick for a lot of teams to win the division, and I would say they're more likely to win win 86 games right now as it stands. Maybe I'm pushing that too low. Maybe it should be closer to 89, 92 wins in that range than they are to win the division. Because even though this Dodgers team is not the Dodgers team that we've seen in the past, like this is, you know what? And here's why, people, calm down. They're gonna sign. They're gonna trade for whoever. Whenever they get him, they're gonna get Shohei Ohtani. I don't even know. We don't even need to talk about it. That's why they didn't make any big moves this year.
Yeah, they were saving their money, and
Oh.
they even came out and said it.
Yeah. Did you see Eric? Plus, Petco is Dodger Stadium South. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, sorry. Go on. Do you want me to go first about Dodgers, or do you want to go first?
Go ahead. I'll let you.
So this was a very, I would say, below regular offseason for them. Very disappointing. But when you put in perspective that what they're going to have, I believe next year is Shohei Ohtani, I think it's a win because that's two players right there. So you get J.D. Martinez and David Peralta. I think J.D. Martinez with this team, you could see a good bounce back year for him, a solid season. I'm not saying like what Justin Turner had, but I mean, just think about what Justin Turner did when he came over and he got with this clubhouse. So I could see him having a good season. David Peralta, I do like as well. Third home in 2 years, which is never always a great sign, but I still think he could be a good depth play. I don't like the bottom of this lineup. I don't like Trace Thompson, Miguel Vargas. There. I mean, he's okay. I'm just nervous about him. A full season. I think he could be good. Sorry. I'm just not. I don't think he's a top of the order guy. But sorry, I didn't want to put my foot in my mouth too far.
No,
I could be wrong. Miguel Rojas, depth guy, right? Depth guy, but he's going to be starting at the beginning of the year. Chris Taylor, I've never been a huge fan of, mostly because I think he strikes out way too much. He gets a lot of at-bats. He's going to get a lot of at-bats this year. Has Jason Hayward made the team?
Not yet, but he's had a pretty solid spring on it. So, yeah, the thing with Hayward is that I don't know if you've seen the difference in the swing that he's came up with this year.
Wow.
And Freeman even said this is probably the best I've seen him hit since we were teenagers. And they came up through the Braves system together. They said he's like, it's more compact. There's less movement in it, and he's able to. He's not trying to get under the ball. He's just hitting, line drives.
Well, that's good because right now in the spring he's hitting 192. So I'm excited about the swing. But it is spring stats. So
yeah. I mean, the first few weeks or the first few games, he was, playing good. And like I said, he has, took a little bit of step back, but I have seen the swing and I think it does look a lot more compact. The hands aren't moving. There's not a lot of movement in, the pre-hit, how he used to do the up and down with his hands before. It's not there anymore. It's just this, quiet. So maybe he is able to quiet that swing down and be at least a productive guy because we know he can play defense. It's just can he hit the ball?
Yeah, and he's not like super old or anything like that. The dude's only 33. So I think as far as what he brings to the table could be good. He probably will make the roster, I think, especially with
I would think so.
Gavin Lux being hurt. You look because they also have Yanni Hernandez, Chris Taylor, who can play everything. So they have two infielders there. You might need an outfielder on the bench. Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Max Muncy, JD Martinez, and that's a solid top half of the lineup. So I think a lot of teams, like, there's not a whole lot. I mean, it's deeper and it's more complete, I would say, than maybe what the Padres do. And even the guys that I wasn't sold on the bottom, or at least I think could be very productive this upcoming season, including Miguel Vargas, who I said I'm not a huge fan of yet, but I think he could be productive in this particular lineup. The rotation, Kershaw is, considered your ace, I would say, still, because he's Clayton Kershaw. He's kind of like he's the Adam Wainwright over there. Julio Urias, love it. Noah Syndergaard, I would expect a decent season from him with this team. Dustin May, guys, everybody's forgot about Dustin May like they forgot about Nolan Gorman. Dustin May is about to have a great season. Ryan Pepiot, I almost had it, coming up this year, so he's going to have a good shot. So I think, there's a lot of potential with this. There's a lot of young. There's a lot of some injury here too, but it's the Dodgers, man. So I'm not leaning towards injuries. I'm leaning towards the Dodgers. It's so annoying.
Yeah, no, it is. And this is honestly probably a year that we look at and we're like, they're not the Dodgers that we think, and they could have an off year, but it's just they're going to find the way to win. And Jason Hayward is a guy that you could look at, and the Dodgers have had a really good track record of reclamation projects of guys that had upside and just kind of faltered somewhere throughout their career. And him and Syndergaard, I think, are a couple of guys that you can look at and go, there's a really good chance that they could, regain somewhat of what they had and be, decent players for this team. Pepio, he'll probably start the season in the rotation for, I'm not exactly sure how long Gonsolin is out for. Gonsolin has a little bit of an injury, so once Gonsolin's healthy, he'll be there. I'm a big Miguel Vargas fan. And I know people are going to look at the numbers in spring, but there is a big, big asterisk there. To begin the spring, he fractured his thumb. He had a hairline fracture in his thumb. And the Dodgers were like, we're still going to put you out there to bat, but we don't want you swinging the bat at all. We want you pitch recognizing, trying to pick up the pitches. And so through the first 10 at-bats of spring training, you know what his on-base percentage was?
No. 40?
500.
The dude's not saying that bad. Just throw the ball down the middle, people. Come on.
Exactly. People didn't
swung
once. Yeah, didn't swing a single time in those 10 at bats. They knew that he wasn't going to swing the bat. They still couldn't. But it speaks. I think that is an aspect that you don't really go, why would you put him out there? But it is good for a young guy to be able to try to pick up pitches, and just say, I don't have to do anything, and that's my one job right now. It's just to, try to recognize what pitch is coming. I think Vargas is a guy that we look at, and he'll have a chance at the Rookie of the Year this year. The numbers he put up last year, and he won AAA Player of the Year. I feel like he can really put it together. A guy that I want on the team, and I believe should be on the opening day roster, and I'm going to be mad if he isn't, and there's a good chance he won't be, is James Outman. Outman has been the most consistent hitter for the Dodgers this spring. He had a really good Arizona Fall League. And the fact that you're looking at Trace Thompson being the starting center fielder, and I go, okay, what does he bring different to the game that Bellinger didn't? And it's nothing. They're exact same players, except for Bellinger is a better defensive center fielder than Trace Thompson is.
True. Yeah. Trace Thompson's a good plug. Oh, we needed one guy. Yeah, but I think you're definitely right.
And so why not give the young guy a chance? At least put him on the roster and let him.
It's time though, too. Like, he's developed enough. He's 25. He's not gonna he's got good power, good speed, really good fielder. He's not incredible when it comes to like hit tool, but like I think might as well, right? Come on. Yeah,
and that's one thing I'm like, the Dodgers do sometimes slow play their prospects to a detriment at a time. And I think Outman is a guy that we need to see what he's got, because I really do think that he could be a solid starting center fielder for that team. And Michael Busch is another young guy. The problem with Busch is defensive wise, wherever you put him, there's going to be a hole, because he can't play second great, and he's not a great outfielder. So if he's up on the team, he's going to be the DH, but the guy can just absolutely hit the ball. 30 plus home runs in the minor leagues, 100 RBIs. He's going to hit, he hit close to 280, 290 almost most of his time down in the minor league. So, yeah, I think there's some young guys that could potentially get there, but like I said, I think the rotation is going to be fine. I was worried at the beginning, but I think Syndergaard is going to be a guy that we're going to look at and go, he had a bounce back year. The strikeout numbers may not be there. The velocity is down, but looked like he's spotting his pitches where he needs to early on in the spring, which is a good sign. And then I think the bullpen absolutely fine, even though we don't have a legit closer.
You're talking about Shelby Miller.
Shelby Miller, he probably ain't making the team.
You don't think so?
No, he is pitched so bad.
Yeah. What else did you expect? It's Shelby Miller.
I don't know. They're like, oh yeah, they saw something in him leading up to. I was like, I don't know about that one. I don't know about, but so I still think this is the team that runs the West.
Yeah, I think they're more of like a 95, 97 win team this year because one, the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, the Giants, like that, you're going to be playing them a little bit, but you're also going to be playing the Reds, and you're going to be playing a little bit of the Pirates and the Cubs. So you look at this team, they should be able to get 95. I don't necessarily think that they're 111 win, 110, 105 win team this year, but like first Eric he put in the chat. The biggest thing that you already know this. It's Dave Roberts is the biggest limitation for them.
Yep. You listen to the podcast. I am not a fan of Dave Roberts.
I know. And they brought him back. Here he is.
Yeah.
Stud catcher in the waiting is what they also said, but you already got Will Smith. So, I mean, there's no need,
Yeah, Cartai won't be up in the majors. I think at most he'll hit AAA. He'll spend most of the season down in AA in Tulsa.
Mm-hmm.
He
man,
worked his way through.
For you.
I know, right? Darn. But the one thing the Dodgers do have going for them is that they have 8 guys down in the minor league pitching wise that could be at least a 4th, 5th starter and a lot of rotations or really good bullpen arms. So if they want to, they could go out and make a trade, for a shortstop or an outfielder to help plug
a pitcher / outfielder, utility guy. Yeah, absolutely, they could.
Absolutely, I'm all for that.
It's going to happen. You heard it here first.
Yeah, just package Ohtani and Trout together, and we'll call it good.
If that happened, people are just going to throw up. I'm going to throw up. I'm going to be upset about it.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah. Oh man, facts. Yeah, this is gonna. It better not happen. You can't have both. You can't have both. Okay.
But we can.
You can't have both.
We have the farm system to have both.
You can't have both, man. No.
I mean, why not? What are the Angels going to do this year? They got to start building somewhere.
But the problem is we can't trust them with whatever they've been given. They've been given 2 of the best players in all of baseball. And here we are. Nothing.
That's not our fault.
But I'm disappointed. I want to see them win, but not in a Dodger. I can't see them both. Just let the Cardinals have one. Okay, just one.
Yeah. Okay. You don't need outfielders.
Royals, it's like the Royals.
No, the Royals. Yeah. Mike Trout, man, in center field for the Royals. Oh gosh.
Wow, that people would be so upset. But it's a winnable division, at least. Come on.
I mean, at least it helps them out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, any final thoughts that you have on these 2 divisions before we get to our predictions episode?
I think I've kind of talked as much as I can think of.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is a great breakdown. I mean, unfortunately, these 2 divisions, as much as they are our favorite teams, they are very much bottom heavy at times. Now, I say that with the Dodgers being 110, 111, 105 win seasons, and the last 2 years ago, the Giants, and that everyone's darling this year, the Padres for the most part. I think that it's still baseball, so you still got to play the games. It's a long season, and we're gonna have more predictions as we get closer. So maybe you stuck around this long and you're like, hey, I wonder if they're gonna be talking about any football. Don't worry, we will have football again this weekend. So stay tuned for the next drop of an episode. It's a bonus podcast. We're going to break down all of the new destinations for all the players, like from Aaron Rodgers, hopefully, to Derek Carr. We got Jimmy G with a new spot already. There's so many different things that we'll talk about, as well as you can be on the lookout for on our social media pages run by Tubby himself, where he's going to put down his rankings for the draft upcoming. It's just like a month away.
Dude, it's almost here.
It's almost, which is your favorite time of year, I think, is April. I mean, you get the Masters, you get this, you get playoffs even for basketball. Technically, you get playoffs for hockey's coming up. It's a good time to be a sports fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the last thing I want to mention is we have already created our bracketology for this year. Bracket busters, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. March Madness brackets.
The brackets challenge.
Yeah, the brackets challenge. So we're going to put that in the description of the show. You want to go ahead, create your ESPN bracket, and then just hit join group. That's all you got to do. It's called the W Podcast. You can join it, and then, yeah, you bet when you start dominating, you'll get the shout out on the pod and get some respect. And then hopefully, just a quick win. Maybe we'll have a free sticker or something like that for you, just to say, hey, congrats on the championship, winning it all out. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say I think this year's basketball is so wide open.
Yeah.
And it makes me excited because I think that you see so many teams that you go, that team could win. That team could win. That team could possibly win. But there is the fact that I think the Big 12 should have a lot of teams win early.
You think? Yeah. So the question, and maybe we'll get to that a little bit this weekend when we had the pod. Is just how many Big 12 teams can make the the Final Four this week, because it's the best basketball conference. I mean, it's crazy how good that conference was this year. So we'll do that. I actually just put it in the chat on YouTube. So Eric, thank you already for go ahead and fill out your bracket. Appreciate that. And anybody else, you still have time. You still have time if you're downloading this podcast. If you're listening to it, games don't start until Thursday. I think at 11 a.m. Central Time. I believe that's right. Maybe 10:30,
So.
something like that. So it's going to be a wide open, and it's just fun. I mean, everyone loves the Cinderella stories. So just hang out with us. We'll do that. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, as well as wherever you're listening to your podcast. We greatly appreciate it. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. Let's go.
Almost there. Almost there.
Almost there. All right. So normally I would say we'll see y'all next week, but this time I'm going to say, we'll see you guys later this week.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.